Hey, so this is part two of the DC animated film review thing that I've been doing. Yeah, this is fun. It's fun to go through these and it's fun to talk about them. And of course, from your perspective, if there are any that you think, hey, man, this one, yeah, this one's really, really good. I don't know why you didn't like this one as much or whatever. Hey, let's talk about it in the comment section. But anyway, just very briefly, the reason that I got into this was because of a sale on iTunes where I got the 30 film collection for $7.99. So I figured, hey, why not? Why not jump into this? Why not, watch all these that I've been, I guess, neglecting for so many years? And I've really been having a good time. So anyway, enough talk. Let's just get into it. So the first one on the list on part two here is Green Lantern First Flight. Now, I was really excited about this because I don't know a whole lot about Green Lantern. I mean, I know a little bit from the Ryan Reynolds movie, the infamous Green Lantern movie that he, continues to make fun of to this day. But anyway, yeah, I wanted that origin story. I wanted this deep dive into Green Lantern and all that and the world and all that. We got a little bit of that, but honestly, this one felt like it was more of a Sinestro story than a Green Lantern story. So it was a little disappointing in that respect because I wanted that deep dive. I wanted that. I wanted to come away from watching this and going, yeah, I know who Green Lantern is. I know what he stands for. I'm down. I'm down for more Green Lantern stories. And I feel like I got a brief overview, but that was it. And it was, I don't know, it's kind of disappointing. And maybe that's fine for the people that, have been reading Green Lantern their whole lives, or I don't know. Maybe that was fine, but for me, it felt like, man, give this guy's due, right? I mean, he's a member of the Justice League, right? Right? Now, the next one on the list is Superman, Batman, Public Enemies. Now, this one was interesting, but pretty forgettable for me. I mean, I don't know. Maybe there's a lot of people that really like this story, but for me, I was just kind of like, okay, isn't now I might be confusing them because there's a lot of this, but isn't Lex Luthor president? And then you've got Amanda Waller, and I don't know. It was completely forgettable. I don't remember much about this story other than being like, okay, that's that was fine. And here's the thing, and I want this to be clear. All of these, if you're a fan of comic book stories, these are all worth watching. These are all like, they're only an hour and 15 minutes or right around there, and they're just fun to watch. So I don't see why anyone would not want to watch them if they're a fan of comic book movies or comic book stories, because it's really good. But at the same time, this one was one of those where I was kind of like, on to the next one, The next one here is Justice League Crisis on Two Earths. I did read recently, I say recently, probably in the last few years, I did read Crisis on Infinite Earths, and a lot of that was lost on me when I was reading it because I wasn't familiar with some of the even regular DC characters, not these ones that are on these other universes, right? But this one was really fun. I had a good time with this one. Again, the weird thing about the animation styles from film to film, that they vary greatly. Like some of them are like really good looking, and then some of them are kind of like eh. And I remember this one being kind of, it's fine, but it's not like amazing looking. But I still enjoyed it, and I thought, yeah, this one was definitely, I would say, slightly above average on the scale. I don't know. It's tough to grade these, but it's still good, and I still say, yeah, it's worth watching. Now this next one, okay, this next one was really good, and this one was based on, I believe, a comic arc from Batman. It's called Batman Under the Red Hood. Man, this one was good, and this one especially was it kind of like rose to the top because you had Jensen Ackles as the Red Hood, and the other character, I don't want to give spoilers if you haven't seen it, but look, all I got to say is this is a really, really well done Batman story and really gets into the, I guess, the ideology of Batman, you know? And I love how it's something that they've always done, right? They're defining Batman by what the other characters do around him in response to Batman, if that makes sense. And I think that's really cool. And it's a really fun way of doing it. It's kind of like, in a lot of ways, what's more interesting, instead of just telling you, what this character is like, you have other characters talk about that character, and it's a cool thing. And I just really enjoyed this one. I think this one was definitely in the top tier, probably going to be in the top, I'd say at least top 10, maybe top 5 of my favorite films so far. Now, the next one here is Superman, Batman, Apocalypse. And this one is basically the introduction to Supergirl. And I actually like this one quite a bit. And I think it's not because the story's great. It's because I didn't know a whole lot about Supergirl. And again, a lot of this stuff I know about, kind of like stuff I've heard, or you know what I mean? But it's not like I haven't delved into some of these characters. So it was really cool to watch this one and kind of learn more about Supergirl and her origins and who she is and all that stuff. And that she was actually, she was grown up, a little more grown up than, of course, Clark was a baby when he left Krypton. She was older. So in a way, she's older than Clark. It's a weird, like, at this point, how do you really judge? But anyway, I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed this one, but there are some issues where it felt very uneven, and she felt kind of whiny at parts, but at the same time, I kind of got it. But anyway, I just enjoyed this one. I know that it's probably not one of the more popular ones, but I really enjoyed it just because I got insight into a character that I didn't know much about. This next one, All-Star Superman. I actually read the comic, the actual graphic novel, I guess, a couple of years ago. And so I was very familiar with the story, and I remember there being things in there that was like, this is way out there. There's some way out there stuff. And if you've read the comic or if you've seen this movie, you know what I'm talking about. There's some out there stuff, but there's also some really interesting ideas. And one of the things that I loved about, especially the making of, which again, you don't get when you just watch these on Max or whatever, but the thing was that the whole idea behind this story was to really go back into the golden age of comics and pull some of those things and sort of bring these stories to like the modern era. And I liked it a lot when I read it, but then the more I thought about it, the more I'm like, you know what? Still, I know there's a lot of people that don't agree with me here, but Superman is he's just not as interesting. He's just not as interesting to me as Batman, because it's just, I don't know. It just seems so easy for him. And I know that a lot of the really well done stories about Superman are how he deals with, his powers, and, how it's basically when not to use his powers. And it's cool to see this. And it's cool to see this story where he's dealing with something that might be the end for him. I liked it. And this is also going to be the basis of, apparently, this is going to be heavily referenced in James Gunn's new version of Superman. So I'm interested to see what they do here. And this was really fun to watch it animated, but it's just not my favorite. It didn't hit me like it hit probably a lot of Superman fans, but still worth watching. Now, I'm not sure if DC heard my criticism of Green Lantern First Flight from the past. Like, they were in the past and they watched my review in the future and they figured out, hey, we need to make this better. We need to make Green Lantern more interesting and all that. Green Lantern Emerald Knights does that. I really enjoyed this one. This one was really, really fun. And what I liked about it is that you learn about like I said earlier, where you're learning about a character by how other characters respond to that character. You know what I mean? In here, we get a new Green Lantern, and she's going through the training and all that stuff, and you're learning more about the Green Lantern. I guess the Green Lantern universe, whatever you want to call it, the Green Lantern Corps. Sure. Anyway, I really enjoyed that. I really enjoyed this one, even though it's not my typical story that I would really gravitate toward. The more fantastical that some of these stories get, the less involved and the less invested I get into them. But this one was really good. I really enjoyed the way that this one played out. Yeah, this one's probably going to be one of my favorites. This is probably like it's in that it's rose to the top. You know what I mean? It's one of the better ones. So I highly recommend this one. And now we come to Batman Year One. This one was fine. As a big fan of the original comic, I mean, I do have my first copy. I mean, it's not worth anything. Trust me, it's not. But it's still, I still have my original copy that I used to read all the time and love that story. Seeing this, it was too abbreviated, and I feel like on future movies they take the criticism they get from this one and they expand some things. This one just felt really short, and it felt like it didn't get into a lot of the meat of what I really like about Batman Year One. It's still fine. It's not bad at all. And the voice acting, really good. You know, I really enjoyed that. I still feel like it could have been better. And I think that they take that criticism later on for The Dark Knight Returns. Yeah, at least in my opinion. But anyway, I still say it's worth watching. But I'd just say, dude, read the comic book. If you haven't read that one, man, that one's that's one of those that you need to read. Like, it's a good one. It's a well-written story. It's fantastic. Frank Miller, come on. It's great. So I think that'll do it for now. That's 8 more movies reviewed, right? So yeah, I'm curious, for those of you who really like the DC animated movies, which ones are your favorite? And yeah, which ones of these are your favorite? I mean, I think Under the Red Hood is definitely the top one of this group. Man, that one was just really, really good. But yeah, I'd love to hear what you think. So anyway, thank you all so much for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.